Welcome to Encounter Wargaming. I'm Jay, and today we're going to be building a Gaslands crew in an afternoon. Alright, just to give you guys some background behind this upcoming playlist, I have decided to do every single Gaslands team, at least the sponsors, a team for every Gaslands sponsor, I should say, in the game. Now, this started because I recently had a birthday and my lovely wife got me this beautiful box of 50 Gaslands cars, Hot Wheels cars, as you can see here. 50 of them, with a wide variety of different types and sizes and colors, blah 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 blah. So, basically, I thought to myself, damn, I could build crews for a bunch of other people, get them into the game, whatever, this, that, and the other. And then I put it up on Facebook, hey guys, I got all these freaking Hot Wheels cars, I'm going to have fun building Gaslands over the next little while. And one of my buddies, he put up, hey, you could build a team of every variety, of every type, with every different combination. And then Adam, my co-host, co-producer of this channel, put, are you kidding? You could do all of them! And I think that's what I'm going to do. So, I went on the Gaslands website, and there's a wonderful blog by the game designer Glenn Ford, where he goes through each of the sponsors and what his suggested optimal build would be for each of those sponsors. So today, we're going to be building a slime team, and basically I'm going to, dig into my bits box, grab stuff that could represent the various gear and weapons and etc. that could be put on these cars, and I'm going to build them exactly how Glenn suggests. And we're going to paint it very quickly and dirty, make it look awesome, and hopefully get it done in an afternoon. So here we are on a Saturday. It's bright and early. I got my coffee going. I'm just going to get started on these cars, and we'll see where we end up at the end of the day. So, for ease of reference, the first team we're going to start with is Slime. So Glenn has suggested that we take 2 cars and a buggy as, to get the most out of this sponsor. He suggested each car has a side-mounted ram, so I've got these cool little blades. For those of you who have been playing Warhammer 40,000 since way back in the day, these used to be the metal upgrades for the Space Marine bikes to turn them into Chaos Space Marine bikes. So anyway, I just had these kicking around, and I figured they're never going to be used for anything, so I'm actually going to cut the bolters off these blades, and I'm going to use these blades to put on the side of the cars and make some side-mounted rams. Makes perfect sense, right? And then, of course, you want to put smoke on all 3 of them, I guess. And the overload perk, can't even talk, on all 3 of them. The only difference the buggy is going to have is he's not going to have the rams, he's going to have armor plating, and that's what I've got this guy here for. Basically, if you guys have ever bought a can of coffee, like the large cans that you buy, that you would put, this is the lid that you peel off after you take the plastic lid off, and I just noticed it had this cool texture on it, so I thought it would be really cool to cut this into squares and use as armor plating. So here I've just got some pieces of some 40k Havoc launchers, which I figure I'll use to represent sort of like my smoke launchers, because I know a lot of people play, you just have your cars and you say whatever's on it, and especially things like smoke and mines and, oil slick and all that kind of stuff don't necessarily have to be represented by pieces, but I like to take these Hot Wheel cars and at least have something on there that represents an upgrade or a weapon. Because, I don't know, even with all the other games I play, I'm a WYSIWYG player. I don't want people to tell me that it has something that I can't visually see on the model. So that's where we're getting at there. And then I just found these couple extra little accessories. I think maybe I'll just throw these on there just to spruce them up and make them look a little, just for decoration. So, let's start with this. I'm going to rip open all these vehicles. So here I've got a 68 Chevy Nova. Cool. That's my first car. The next one, I've got a 71 Mustang. Dope. And of course my buggy, I got a Volkswagen Beetle. Because it's a punch buggy. Now these Beetles are actually really cool because I have other Beetle in my other team, and it has the, I guess what they're called, wheel wells or whatever. This one actually looks like the wheel wells have been stripped from it. I don't know if they ever sold buggies like this, but it definitely works for Gaslands because it looks like it's been partially stripped already. Which, again, I have another one of these as well in one of my other teams, but I just love the model so much I'm going to have to use them on this one. So we're going to start with the car, I guess. I want to separate these blades from the bolters, because obviously we don't want bolters on these guys. And for that, I'm just going to use my clippers. I figure that'll be easier than using a knife. As you can see, I've had a recent run-in with a knife. So use clippers where you can, guys. There we go. With those two blades. I'll just throw this back in my pile of bits. We don't need bolters today. There's another two blades. Awesome. Cool. So I'm just going to take some crazy glue and glue them on. It's literally that simple. But I have to make sure that I'm going to space them out well enough and make sure they're both at the same distance, like forward to back, as each other on either side, so that they don't look weird. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe if this is the door and it needs to open, maybe I'll put it just behind the door, and that'll give it this nice little, yeah, I think that looks pretty cool. Or maybe I should put them this way. Nah, they're going to stick out too far if I do that. So I think I'm just going to mount them right there. Let's do it.
You're the one having all the fun, but I hope that you'll enjoy it. This show I put on for you, so soft you put your fingers through and I...
Just stare it straight down, make sure I got my blades straight on there. I don't want them looking all weird and wonky. That's pretty cool, actually. And a lot of the times with stuff like this, where you're gluing like metal onto metal or a smooth surface onto a smooth surface, actually just take a little bit of crazy glue and just sort of fill the gap, fill the little crack there. So A, it's filled, but also it creates like a sleeve of glue around it, which makes it way less likely to come off in the future. Now luckily these are die-cast cars. If these were plastic and they had some kind of weird paint on them, I wouldn't even be able to do this. They would just chip right back off again, which I have had happen. My first Gaslands team I tried to build before Adam and I started doing bat reps, I used some cheap dollar store plastic cars, which were absolute garbage. And like I say, I would glue something on and it would just glue to the paint layer and then chip right back off again. So instead, if you guys noticed, I used those crappy dollar store cars for the car pile-up terrain pieces that we did for the table, and they worked great for that. But if you want to build a team, I suggest using proper die-cast metal cars. Okay, so I'm looking at it straight down because I want to make sure I line it up with the blade on the other side. Make sure it's the same amount of distance out, same amount of distance up. And again, I want to look straight down the car back to front so I can see whether or not this is on straight. I just want to move it just a tiny bit. Cool. Once again, give it that protective layer. Sweet. Cool. Just a little nudge in the right direction. Awesome. Bam! Side-mounted blades. I'm going to do the same on the Mustang.
Well, we built the fire's still burning. We built the wheel.
Alright, now for the armor plates on this guy. Just gonna look at the squares on this weird foil thing and just try and cut as close to these lines as I possibly can. Just for appearance sake. Make these look like random scraps of metal that they've just like welded onto the outside of this thing. Perfect. That's more than enough. I don't even need all that. And we'll just take a look at the buggy here. Now, the thing I've noticed about Hot Wheels cars sometimes is that they have these open windows. Now, Adam, for example, has a buggy in his crew that is completely open roll cage. And I always find that kind of weird because there's nobody actually sitting in it. And as much as, you know, these are just representations meant for the tabletop, blah, 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 I would kind of like my cars to have people where they're supposed to have people. Make it look like it actually has a driver. So, you can either try and find people that scale, which I have yet to try and find it, actual models of humans that are this scale, especially because Hot Wheel cars are so drastically out of scale with one another even. It's easier just to cover up these open windows. I actually have a couple on the on this guy here, so at least this car is supposed to be armed with armor plates. Whoops. So I am basically just going to figure out how big I actually need these armor plates, and thanks to these squares, it makes it easy to measure. So it looks like these windows are about 2 squares high, but I may want to bring it down the door a bit. So I'll say we'll do it 4 squares high by 5 squares wide. How does that sound? So we'll start looking at 4 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the line we want to use. All the way along. And I'm just going to cut an entire strip of it. Sorry, didn't realize I was doing that off camera. There we go. Because this is foil, it's going to like a really thick foil. It's going to take a couple of tries to go through with a knife. Don't try and do it all at once because you will probably just go and end up cutting yourself. Be real careful, guys. There we go. Perfect. And what did I say? 5 the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 1 armor plate. Boom. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again. There's one for the other door. On the other side. Cool. Now I've got this guy left. I wonder if it'll be enough to do possibly the hood. I guess I could put some on the hood. So I probably want it to be, you know what, 4 wide is actually good enough, probably. Maybe I'll shrink it to 3 just because of how pointed this nose is. So we'll just cut 1 strip off here, or 1 row off, I guess. That's a better way to put it. And that's the great thing about Gaslands, guys. You can just like find random stuff lying around and just glue it all over toy cars, and pretty much no matter what you do, it looks cool as hell. And then I'm saying about 6 long. So since this is the more messed up end, I'll cut that end off first. Ah, crap. Now the thing is, when you start to get small like this, it gets hard to hold it down while you're cutting it because it just wants to move around on you. See if that worked. Nope, not quite through yet. Stop moving! Ah. Boom. Whee! Alright. Yeah. How does that look? It's a little strange, but it looks kind of cool. Just a little weird. You know what? That's okay. Because actually, once it's painted, that'll actually probably look really cool.
Meet again now. Isn't it funny how everything works?
There's our 3 cars. So, all I want to do now is I think I want to take these and just put one maybe on the back of each of them. Hell, maybe even on the roof of each of them. And just to represent smoke. Because I guess if you were launching smoke, you'd probably have it either firing backwards or you'd have it firing upwards, right? Maybe even forwards, I guess. But it would actually be perfect on this guy on the roof rather than on the back because of the roundedness of the back. So I think all 3 of them I'm going to put it on the roof. Alright, so with this guy I'm just going to trim the flash. Obviously I just took these out of the mold and didn't actually use them, so I just threw them in my bits box. And they have these weird little nubs on the back, of course, that were meant to put onto the other 2 parts of the Havoc launcher, which I'm just going to very carefully trim off so that it sits flat on the surface I'm gluing it to, because it will look kind of weird if it's sticking up, obviously. There we go. Cool. And literally, I'm just going to take these 3 and I'm going to glue them right on the center of the roof. Let's see, which way would look better on this guy? That way? Or this way? Because he's going to dictate the other ones. I think that way looks better, so I'm going to do that on all 3 of these. Let's do it.
And I can't tell, it's too.
Cool. So there's all the essentials, the actual armaments on there. Now, I noticed on this guy here that, again, the windows are open. So I could use a very similar method of covering them up. I could use any kind of mesh, or you could use pieces of wood, or what have you. But I don't want to use the same metal because this guy doesn't have armor plates. This guy does, and obviously I don't want to use the same thing to represent something different. So on this guy, I think I'm actually going to use this weird little, I guess it's a las cannon power pack from 40K. I don't know. Something like that. And I'll just make sure it can actually cover first. It'll be good enough, I think. So one of these 2 pieces, I'm going to cut this in half, and one of these 2 pieces will each cover one of the windows, at least enough that you won't be able to peer through later and see that there's nobody driving the thing. So I'm just going to take my knife and chop this guy in half. Cool. Other side. Excellent. Perfect. And of course just trim all the like weird flash or, you know, the roughness from your cut. In this case I have some sprue flash still on there. Again, the cut wasn't exactly beautiful, so we'll just trim that so it looks somewhat flat. Cool. And there you go. That's a pretty cool little piece, right? We'll throw that on here. And this guy will do the same and throw on the other side. Now sometimes I actually find it easier, especially with weird little bits like this, to position the bit where you want it and then just kind of drop some super glue on top of it. So once you have it in place, like, you know what I mean, in between the cracks and crevices, just to kind of glue it in place, because when you try and stick it to something with very little surface area like this, you most likely are going to stick it to your fingers rather than to the car. At least that's in my experience. I stick stuff to my fingers all the frickin' time. It's kind of annoying, actually. And make sure I get it to the point where it looks like it actually belongs there. Oh, come on, man. There we go. That's something. I'm just going to throw a drop there, where it, like on the points where it actually contacts. A drop here. Come on. And if you get too much crazy glue on, like where it's filling the details and stuff of your bit, just give it a good blow. Get all the glue out of the cracks and crevices. And that looks pretty cool, right? Yeah, actually, I really like that. Cool. Let's do the other side. Now, this time I'm not just lining it up with itself. I want to make sure I look at it from from the roof of the car, from a bird's eye view of the car. Fumbly man fingers of mine. And for someone who does miniatures for a hobby, my dexterity freaking sucks. Finger dexterity. Okay, there we go. That's sort of where I want it. Let me take a look from above, make sure it's symmetrical with the other side. Perfect. That looks pretty damn good to me. Nice. And same thing, I'm just going to drop it on the contact point, so here where it's touching the door. Boom. Boom. Same thing on the roof. Where it touches the roof. Boom. And boom. And like I said, any excess, just blow it of all the details and crevices. It'll actually prevent globbing too. Cool. So there's one cart. That actually looks really badass. We've got some other cool stuff here. So this guy is actually a pretty long piece. This looks like a piece for some Imperial Guard tank or something. Yeah, I think it's probably only going to fit on this guy anyway. And the cool thing about this Mustang is it has this cool little engine in the window there, in the windshield, which is actually really neat. And so why don't we do this as some kind of like extension onto the front there. Just add an extra detail to it. So again, just trimming the flash. Come on, there you go. And that is a rivet, which is supposed to be there. This, do we leave the square there? Do we cut the square off? I think I'll cut it off. Just be real careful. Actually, let me use my clippers to cut the bulk of it off. Safety first, guys. And then use the knife to trim off the excess pinch plastic, the part that's got a pinch between the blades. Because I actually have this really cool little detail here where it's got these two little holes, so that'll create sort of like a, I don't know, some kind of weird post-apocalyptic detail that one can only guess what it is. But it don't matter, because we're getting creative. So I'll just throw, I think I'll just throw a strip of glue right down the center as opposed to trying to put it on the prongs here that would attach to the front. And that way, no matter where I put it, it's going to stick. And I want to use the line that's already there in the middle of the hood to line up my piece. Might as well use the guide that has already been given to you. Oh, that was so easy. Oh, and one of my blades fell off the side. That sucks. That's okay. We'll glue that back on. Because now that this guy's in place, once again, I'm just going to hit it with a little bit of extra crazy glue. Boom, boom, boom. Just to ensure it stays on a little better. And I'll spend some time putting this guy back on the side of it. Okay, and the final bit I think I want to add is this sweet ammo box that I found in my bits box. So let's just find a cool place to add that. Just sort of like an extra cargo box on the back of this cool little car. Excellent. Perhaps it would look best. Yeah, actually, you know what? We're going to put it right on the back, right there on the trunk. I think that's where to go with it.
Yeah, let's go to Rome. I'm very excited. We'll see all the sights just like that show you like on HBO. And if we're leaving.
And that's that. Got my slime team built. So now I'm just going to let all that glue set and dry, and then I'll give them a coat of black primer, and then we'll get to painting them. So we've got our slime team primed black and ready to paint. Basically, this is the stage where I get to decide what colors I'm going to paint these guys. And I was thinking, since the sponsor's named Slime, I think I'm just going to go very quick and dirty with this one and just paint them as aged and weathered as possible. No real colors, no real designs like I've done on my other Gaslands cars. I think I'm just going to paint them all at like bare metal and then go crazy just weathering the crap out of them. So basically, I think I'm starting with Chainmail Silver by Vallejo Game Color. I like Vallejo's base coats because their pigments are a little bit thicker than the Citadel metallics, or a little bit more vibrant, I guess is the better way to put it. And they just cover a little bit better. So basically, I'm just going to paint the entire car as this color. step, now that all the silver's dry, is just to add a nice thick coat of Agrax Earthshade.
I'll write a song for you, I'll write a song for me, I'll write until my pen explodes. Like it really fucking matters what I have to say.
Alright, so then we just leave that to dry. Alright, next step, sponge painting. So I got these cheap little brushes. You can get them at a dollar store or any random store. They look like this too. They're basically just a sponge. Basically the same stuff you'd use in, you know, figure cases. So if you have some extra pieces from a pluck foam case or whatever, you can use that too. In this case, I just got a bunch of these for cheap, so I'm just gonna rip a piece off this. Very simply, I've got here some Doombull Brown, and this is gonna be the base for my rust. So basically, I'm just gonna dip my sponge in there. Not much left in this bottle, so it's actually hard to get at it. Right, now just take it and dab it out on your paper towel. And basically I want to use the edge of this to more or less just put rust where I think there would be rust. So cars generally rust around the wheel wells, along the bottom, generally on the corners, some of the corners of the hood, maybe the corners of the roof, a little bit along the back. Just basically be sort of purposeful with it, but at the same time just kind of haphazard with it. And there you go. Just around the wheel well. It looks awesome, right? All the way along the bottom, the more around the wheel well. Alright, now I'm just going to take some Troll Slayer Orange and do basically the same thing. I can even use the same sponge, just simply because, you know, I'm trying to blend these colors anyway, so I might as well just work my way up to a brighter orange. Real simple to do. Just dab it out on my paper towel to get to the color I want and put it in roughly the same spots. Just a little bit lighter, a little bit less of it. Boom. It's that quick. If you go overboard, it'll actually look ridiculous. I kind of did that on my monster truck. I went a little overboard. But that's how you learn.
Drag me out onto that dance floor. Jukebox playing that rhythm and blues.
Now the sponge painting's done. It's just a matter of painting the details. So some people like to paint their windows black, some people like to paint them silver. I've seen green, purple, all colors of the rainbow. I like to use blue. To me, it makes sense, especially when you're dealing with glass that's reflective. It's going to be kind of purplish blue or a dark blue color tinted, you know what I mean? So
You didn't know what you were in for. You dragged me out onto that dance floor. Well, I got rhythm just now.
all my glass, so that includes all my windshields, side windows, any windows, plus the lights. Front lights, not the back lights. The back lights will paint red for obvious reasons.
Rhythm just now.
Little heavy red is a base for the backlights.
She says she's a mystery. Yeah.
Now I'm just going to do some quick sort of lens effects with some blues here, just with the basic blue that I started with, mix a little bit in with it, and just work my way up to this sort of, what is it, enchanted blue, or at least what used to be Keldor sky, okay? And more or less just look at it in the light, and where I think the reflection would basically go, like, you want to paint sort of on an angle, crescent shape kind of thing going up the window. And when you look at the windshield, even in the light I have, in the LED light I have, you can see the area that's lighter. Now I'm going to gloss varnish this afterwards, so we don't have to be too crazy about wet blending and making the transition perfect, because when you put the gloss on afterwards, the natural shine will outweigh your lack of skill. So yeah, I just want to basically paint that crescent shape, like basically going from the back corner all the way up, just like that. Same thing over here. And basically just do that on all the windows, including the front lights.
No, darling. I said, ooh.
And then, while that's still kind of wet, I want to do a final layer of just the Keldor sky, just to bring it to a nice vibrant blue. A little dab of Mephiston red on the back lights, rear lights.
She says she's old-fashioned. No one night stand.
So all my weathering's done and my lens effects are done. All I gotta do now is just basically take some Abaddon black and paint my tires black. Now that I've, obviously wouldn't have rust all over the rubber and stuff like that, so just be careful, go around and just paint the tires black.
All of the projects are on hold. Alright, here it comes.
Last, certainly not least, we're going to gloss these windows with a little bit of gloss wash, actually. I have used gloss varnish in the past, but I figured since we had such rough lines between our blending, it's actually probably a good idea to throw a wash over it. So there you go, a nice coat of that, maybe even a second layer of it, and it just creates like a nice glaze and basically blends together all of those rough layers that we made, not properly taking the time to wet blend. Now we're going to cover our crimes with some of this stuff. It's actually a really nice little thing to have handy. Again, I would have used gloss varnish, but I thought, you know what, gloss wash sounds like a cool idea. And we'll use it very much like a glaze to blend together my lack of talent.
Will make it worth the mine. Oh, honey, will you make it worth mine?
And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. An optimal slime team in an afternoon. Built and painted. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I had a lot of fun building those cars. The great thing about this game is that you can do exactly this. You can literally go to the store, grab yourself like 3 cars, grab a bunch of your old 40K bits or Infinity bits or whatever other miniature game you play, and just throw them all over your cars. Get a nice rusted, dirty wash paint job on there. Paint the details nice, a few things here and there, and just make them look awesome. So I think this team is going to do really well in the field. I think after I build each one of these, hopefully Adam and I can get together to do enough battle reports to be able to test out each of these, because we actually haven't been using sponsors in our bat reps yet, if you guys have noticed. So we're going to start doing that, and I want to try out each one of the sponsors and see how they play. And I think using the game designer's suggestions of how to build these teams for those sponsors to optimally be able to use those sponsors' perks and etc. I think is a good way to go, because basically the guy designed a freaking game, so he should know what the hell he's talking about, right? So, Glenn, if you're watching, thanks so much for putting that blog out. It's given me fodder for all these upcoming videos, and I hope you like these videos, because we love Gaslands. It's an absolutely amazing game, and we're going to keep playing it and showcasing it on our channel. So, long story short, guys, if you like this video, please hit the like button. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and comment below. Comments help us out so much with that stupid YouTube algorithm craziness that is beyond human understanding. Also, if you want to help support and counter Wargaming, make sure to check out our Spreadshirt page in the description below. Buy yourself an awesome t-shirt or a hat or any kind of swag with our logo on it, and it helps us out with a couple of bucks. Also, guys, we do have a Patreon campaign. It is the best way you can support us, because it keeps the money flowing, and it gets us a couple of dollars, maybe $1 a month or $1 a video or whatever you want to contribute, and it gets you a whole bunch of extra stuff too. Okay, we're not asking for handouts. Either go buy a t-shirt, gets an awesome t-shirt, gets us a couple of dollars, or go to our Patreon, gets us a couple of bucks, and it gets you content early, it gets you extra content, it gets you discounts with warpainter.com, and a whole bunch of other perks, which I'm sure we'll add on in the future. But they're all on the page there, so check it out, and we'll see you at our next encounter.
Like a monkey in a rocket on his way back home. Okay.